You're listening to the Hire Calling Podcast. I'm Pete Newsome, and this is your source for all things hiring, staffing, and recruiting. I'm back, of course, with Ricky Baez. Ricky, how are you, my man?
I'm doing good, sir. It's a beautiful Friday on mid-August here in Florida, aka insane heat.
It's always the weather. We're not old enough to start with the weather every time.
Dude, it is always with the weather, and I'm noticing that. I'm starting to focus more on the weather. I'm starting, again, like last time, starting to focus on the kids getting off of my lawn. I yelled at 2 this week. I need to stop doing
And
that.
we established, though, that there are no kids on the lawn anymore because they're all inside playing video games.
You know what? Honestly, I'm about to buy these kids an iPhone. I say, here you go inside. You know, back in the day when we used to threaten parents who let their kids go all crazy with a puppy and like a Gatorade or a Red Bull. Yeah, I'm gonna threaten them with an iPhone and just go back inside. That's what's gonna happen. So,
all right. So today,
you like whatever.
Today, well, only because we're on the clock.
We are. I do apologize.
I'm going to keep you on task today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's impossible, but we're gonna try.
Got it.
We're doing Q&A though. You have the questions. I don't have them.
I do, yeah. So, last time we did the show. Actually, at the end of every show, we encourage our listeners to send us an email. Shoot us a text, let us know, give us a like when they download us on their favorite platform. So, I got some Q&A questions that I want to throw at you. I got about 4 or 5. So I'm just gonna just kick them off. You ready?
No, I am, but you know what? You just brought up a good point. So I want to say at the beginning of the show this time, because no one's listening at the end. We know that. We start off strong and then get fade a little bit. But we will we would love it if you can subscribe. We would love it if you can review and rate the podcast. Of course, 5 stars, and always email us if you have any thoughts or ideas on what you'd like us to talk about. Hire calling at fourcornerresources.com. So good. We got that out of the way early. So now let's do the questions.
Let's do them. Now, here's the first one. Now, we may have to go back into our thinking cap here. So a few months ago, you spoke about the different ways to network. How do you follow up on someone who just doesn't respond? So we were talking about, I want to say it was at the beginning of the year, we did an episode about how to network, what are the things that you want to do, or just to connect with. And I guess what this person is asking is, once you connect with somebody at a conference or at a meeting, whatever the case may be, and you send them an invite to follow up for some coffee or something, if they don't respond, so
they blow you off.
Do? Yeah.
Don't follow up. You leave them alone. That's creepy.
So,
no, I mean it.
So, perfect answer, right? Perfect answer,
right? Like, but I say that somewhat in jest, but only partly. Where, as a professional salesperson throughout my career, because I even though that's not the role I'm in today, that's who I am.
Yeah.
That's happened. I've met people. I've wanted to follow up with them, maintain a business relationship, and not everyone wants to buy what you're selling, and that's okay. Yeah. There's a line between being persistent and being too persistent, and you've got to find that line. So stay in, make a couple of attempts.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I'm not a chaser. That's not something I believe in doing. I think any type of business relationship needs to be mutually beneficial for it to be a healthy relationship. And also, as a professional salesperson, I never wanted to come from a position of inferiority. And so if I'm having to chase someone down, there's an imbalance in that relationship, and it's one that I don't want to be a part of, probably.
So I'm glad you said that, Pete, because, a lot of these sales folks, because that's what this is. This is a sales tactic, right? That's the whole purpose of building that relationship, whether it's sales, if that's how you look at it, or you just want to solve somebody's problem, right? One is definitely better than the other. But, people are told not to quit. People are told continue on, keep pressing on. But I like your approach, right? Because if you find yourself chasing, right, or if I have to convince you to be a part of my network or buy my product or my service, that's, to me, that's not a good fit. If I have to convince you to do that, the only thing I should be able to do is to let you know what I do and to see if what I do can help you,
Correct.
right?
Yes. And,
Beyond that, leave it alone. I'm
and
with
there's
you.
ways and there's ways to do that. So I look, this is where it sounds like a conflicting message, perhaps, but
Mm.
you have to find the line between driving the relationship as the seller, right? You do have that obligation,
Yeah.
where if you're trying to well, I guess I'll step back. I see. I turn it into a sales thing. You just said networking in general. So if I'm trying to sell to someone, I have to drive that relationship at the beginning. But there's a point where I'm not going to chase, like I
Yeah.
said, and then I'll put you on autopilot where once a month, if hopefully we'll send an email just touching base. We're here because sometimes it's just not a right time. Where
Yeah.
if, for example, if I'm not in the market for a new payroll system and someone is selling me a new payroll system, I'm not going to spend my time with them.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
Yep.
But there's
Yep.
going to be a point where I will be interested again in considering a new payroll system. That point may be years down the road. And that's where the not giving it up comes in, because you will be out of mind if you're out of sight. But don't waste your valuable professional time calling them incessantly and being desperate to build a relationship with someone who isn't interested. But keep stay in touch enough. Put them on an email, once a
Yes.
month, once every few months. Hopefully, you have an automated system to help with that, where you're just letting them know you're still there. And if you
That's
do
right.
that, I think you're checking the right boxes. In general networking, though, if you're just trying to build rapport with someone because you think there's someone who's good to know, that's where I say it's creepy. If you're trying too hard to do that with someone who isn't responsive, just don't. There's too many fish.
Well, the reason I threw sales in there, because to me the purpose of networking is for eventually there could be a business relationship down the road, right?
Correct.
So you bring, man, this is a 2 or 3 parter for this question, right? Because I like how you put that, right? You separated for sales something that you need to be careful that the people that you're trying to connect with and build that relationship with, that you do have something to offer at some point, whether it's now or later on, right? Or whether it's what you serve or what you provide, or just a simple business relationship, then you don't know where that will take you. But I'm with you. If you cross that line, it does come in. It does come across kind of creepy. And aside from that, Pete, take away the whole business side of it. If this was a personal relationship somebody was trying to pursue, wouldn't a restraining order come into play at some point?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, potentially.
So yeah, so the answer to this one, whoever asked send it in, just don't hide in anybody's bushes. You good, right? You're
Yeah, and
good.
and and the last thing, I'll say, if this is, whether it's sales or general networking, the what seems to be the disinterested party needs to have a reason, I'll say both parties need to have a reason to establish a relationship. So
Yep.
maybe you have common interests. Maybe you just hit it off and you like each other's personality, or you see that there's mutual um, business gain to be had, right?
Yeah.
And that's gain, GAIN, not game. But there has to be some reason for each party to continue. So clearly, if the other party isn't responsive, they're not motivated to continue. So you have to give them a reason.
Yeah.
Either it's your charming personality, what
Thank
you can
you.
do for
Appreciate you
them.
acknowledging
And,
that.
and, and well, I
Yeah.
doubt this happens to you for that reason, right? You do have that charming personality. No one's going to blow
Right.
you off.
There you go. There
Um,
you go. Yeah. So, oh, awesome. So you and I are on the same sheet of music. Perfect. All right. Now, the second question. Right. Now, this is, I think we did this last year. Last year, we were talking about resumes, how to build a resume, and kind of walking the candidate through the door and what they should expect. But this is a quick, straight to the point regarding resumes: summary section or list of qualifications. What do you prefer? That's what they're asking. And I think they're asking, how on a
So
resume at the beginning you put a summary about your qualifications, or do you do a list of your qualifications or your achievements? Which is preferred these days?
so first of all, I'll plug Zengig. Head on over to zengig.com,
Mm-hmm.
zengig.com, to check out our sample resumes, and by situation, by career level. There, those we answer those questions in detail on how to build a proper resume. But if we're talking about summary, I think of a summary as an objective statement of sorts. It doesn't have to be. It could be, here's who I am and what I've done. So depending on the type of resume, the answer will differ a little bit. And I'm talking,
Yeah.
is it a chronological resume? Is it a functional resume? Is it a CV, which is something altogether different? So depending on who you are, what your situation is, what your objective is, what your level is, the answer is going to differ a little bit. And again, all that is spelled out over at Zengig. But I think there's opportunity for both. I want to know what the person's objective is. That's important. So when I think of the summary statement, that's the first thing that comes to mind, and I'm speaking generally. And then the skills should be displayed as well, depending on the position. So if it's a technical role, if you're a software developer and you are trying to get a job where those skills are the most important aspect of the role, probably, then you should list them. But if you're a salesperson, we'll pick on salespeople all day today, I guess. Then,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily need to list your sales or your skills as much as you want to highlight your accomplishments throughout your resume. So I don't think we can give that a one size fits all answer.
I was looking at that one, Pete, and I'm thinking, I like both. I like both. I like a summary of what the person's intent is, and I like a snapshot of, to be honest, I look at achievements, right? I don't give, I'm going to be careful what I say here. I don't give skill sets as the same credibility, the same value as I give what you do with that skill set. I want to see results, right? So on a resume, what I like to see is a mixture of both. All right, you got this skill set, but what are you doing with them? So under the summary section, I like to see that the person with X skill set was able to reduce or increase efficiencies by X%, right? Or increase sales, or reduce this, reduce that. I want to see results. So from my perspective, I want to see a mixture of both, where I can see what those qualifications are, and also what you're doing with those qualifications. So that's I like them both, to be honest.
I think you hit the mark for sure.
Boom, excellent. All right, moving right along.
We are. This is
I like this. Yeah,
record. But we didn't say up front. You have a deadline. You have a hard
I do.
stop.
I do. Yeah, I gotta drive over to Melbourne. Yeah.
This is now I'm see all I'm going to do is grind us to a halt. But it's because I got a flat tire this morning and was stranded. And so that's why I'm the reason we're on the clock. So
yeah, but you know what? You're handling it pretty well, though, right? Because for somebody who's got a full day, that happens. We need to do an episode on what happens when Murphy's Law come into play. So that's the next one. Excellent.
No. It ended up being kind of okay, because they told me the tow truck was going to take 4 hours, and that it wasn't a tire that could be changed, just for the record, because I don't want to sound like I needed to call a tow just because of a flat tire. I could change. I don't have a spare. It was completely off the rim. I'm not sure how that happened exactly, but it was undrivable. This was not a challenge to my.
All of our listeners are like, "Wow, Pete owns a tank."
Yeah, but they said it was going to be 4 hours, and the guy shows up. So I was calling my wife to say, hey, come pick me up and leave the car here. I found a spot to leave it for a couple hours. It was right across the street. And as I was on the phone with her, letting her know where I was, the tow truck guy shows up, and I waited less than 10 minutes. That never happened. So
that's true. When you don't want it to happen, Pete, that's when it happens. Murphy's Law.
I did want it. I didn't want it to happen. Make no mistake. So, anyway,
I get it.
So here we are, and I just took unnecessary time. So let's go.
That's cool. We're there. All right. The question 3. This one's on me. Ricky keeps talking about building relationships. How can you build a relationship with an employee who just wants to come to work and then go home?
All right,
So,
Ricky, how can you?
so I guess what they're saying is, right, because, and I, believe it or not, Pete, I started doing TikTok a few weeks ago, like actually putting them out there. I figured out how to use it.
Which dance did you do
No,
first?
I don't. No. All right. I'll explain that just how I'll explain my love for Star Wars. I am a huge Star Wars fan, but I'm the level of fan right below showing up to a conference dressed up as Chewbacca.
Okay.
That's not happening, right? I'll show up, but I'm not going to dress up. So I'm not doing that dance. If we do, I mean, there's a lot of people that are going to have their eyes burned off. So look, so what I started talking about is maybe they saw this TikTok. Um, there's a big push out there, and I've seen this a lot of people, just these young professionals pushing people to just don't build relationships, just go to the office, go to your job, clock in, do your job, and go home. Not everybody there is your friend. And my pushback is, although they're technically correct, the opposite is also true. Not everybody is your enemy. And if you want to stay at your job, stay in the same position and not move up, that's perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to move up in your position, you are going to have to build some kind of relationship with somebody. It needs to happen. Now, bringing it back to this, because I'm always telling all of my students and everybody I consult with, you've got to really work in the skill of building relationships. But if you have an employee who does not want to build any kind of relationship with anybody, and they put you on notice, quote unquote, says, you know what, I don't want to talk about my personal life, believe them and leave them alone. It's as simple as that. It's the same thing as that first question, right? It gets kind of creepy after a while when you're pushing too hard. Now, with your employee, it's a whole different story, because if you keep pushing and they don't want to talk about their family, now you cross that line, and now you're going to talk to somebody like me about creating a hostile environment for that employee. So listen to the employee. If they don't want to build a relationship, leave them alone. It really is as simple as that. What do you think?
Well, so last week we talked about one of the ways to keep employees engaged, and it was to talk to remember the question was something effective. How do you feel about the level of social interaction? I think it
Yes,
was.
that's right.
And so we debated a little bit about what the author of the article meant by social interaction. Is it outside of work? And this reminds me of that, where you said something that's interesting about you to advance in the organization, you have to do more than just show up and do your job.
You got to build relationships,
And
right?
do you?
You've got to talk to people and invest time into, because look,
What if that's
if
just not who you are, but you're the best at? I always pick on accountants in this because I think of I
okay.
think of that as being a role where, unlike sales, where it is all about often, not all,
Hmm.
but a big part of the job is about the relationships and the ability to build rapport and engage with others. Where and you could be the best accountant, but not want to talk to anyone, but your numbers are always on point. You
Hmm.
see, yeah, the numbers speak to you. All these things that what the traits that would make someone really valuable in the organization. But let's say you don't like engaging outside of work, or even outside of just doing your job. Can you still thrive?
Now, I'm going to separate that that question, right? Because I'm not talking about engaging outside of work, right? If people don't want to show up to a happy hour,
I
it's
mean,
on
even
them.
in the
That's fine.
hallway,
Yeah.
right? I'm talking in the hallway, or
Okay.
in the morning. When the job is done, I get up, I leave. I don't need to stop and chit chat about with the weather.
Got it.
So,
Which apparently old people do, like me.
right.
Okay, so look, here's how I look at it, and I've seen this done, and it always works. If you get my definition of moving up, right, is moving up, whether it's in seniority in your post, but part of that is going to be you needing to influence other people, right? And if you have people working, if you want a position where people are going to work under you, you've got to be able to get out of the corner, out of your comfort zone if you're an introvert, and you've got to start building those relationships. Above and beyond that, if you do an amazing job, right? That's awesome. You know, hard work pays off. But hard work pays off with the people that notice it, right? If
Right.
you do a lot of hard work and nobody knows you've done it, nobody sees the value in it, then what's the point of that hard work? So you've got to build a relationship with your boss, which I know a lot of people are not going to agree with what I'm about to say, but if you want to get promoted, your boss has to be your cheerleader. They have to be they I mean, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I agree with you 100%. So
Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to go there. I was trying to bring that out because
Yeah.
in the scenario, the fictitious accountant scenario is going to be limited,
Yeah.
and they're how much they can advance. Should it be that way? I mean, I don't know, but it is,
It,
right?
that's life.
That's what we have to
Yeah.
acknowledge. So you're 100% correct. I don't think I can improve upon that answer other than just to really agree with you and say you have to manage your own career and you
Yeah.
have to manage up. Um, so whatever that means in your situation and in specific environment, you have to be conscious of it. And so just showing up, doing your job, not considering those other things, the networking aspect of it, the perception,
Yeah.
managing your boss, all the things, what you just said, you're going to be limited because someone else is doing it,
That's right.
and they're going to get noticed, even if they're not as good.
And I learned this lesson a long time ago where I made the huge mistake of assuming just because somebody is good, really good at the job they do within, like, if they're responsible for their own duties and nobody else's, I made the big mistake of thinking that they'll be a great leader. Right. And the person told me, because I wanted to put her, and I think we talked about this, Miss Ethel. This is somebody that I put in a leadership position, and she failed at it. And I'm going to her like, what are you doing? And she just yelled at me. And she was right. She's like, I told you I didn't want to be in this position. Then I'm like, I got nothing to say, Miss Ethel. You're 100% right. You did tell me, right? So I put her back. Right. But that was a big lesson for me, right? That always regardless of how good your employee is, you have to be their GPS, right? If I was to use the example of a car, right? The
Little
car
sensitive
is their
subject right
career.
now.
I'm sorry.
Little sensitive subject right now.
Oh, sorry. All right, so I'll do it really fast, right? So the vehicle is the career, the employee is in the driver's seat, and you're the GPS, right? You listen to where they say to where they want to go, and you help them get there.
Perfect.
Yeah. So all right, yeah.
Well,
Next
I think
subject.
so. I do want to recommend that you continue to tell Miss Ethel stories. I don't think that's a real person. I don't believe you. You're not going to convince me that there was a Miss Ethel. Yeah, I know it's a good story, but I think you need to continue to build on the Miss Ethel persona and just use her as examples for
Dude,
things.
I was yelled at, and it scared me.
Yeah.
I was like 16 years ago.
And I'll pretend along with you that that's real. Okay.
Got it. All right. Okay. So next one. Oh, you and I might differ on this one.
Okay.
How do you deal with political and or religious conversations at work?
Oh, we definitely differ.
Yeah, we
Not
do.
that we differ about our opinions within the subjects themselves about whether they should be discussed.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think peers. I think you have to test the water among your peers. This is just my general thought. This is not an HR
Mhm.
approved answer, but I test the waters and you'll quickly figure out what's safe and what's not. If you can read people at any decent level, and then don't go into areas where people are going to be have potential to be upset. Right.
Yeah.
As a leader or a manager of people, I don't think you should go anywhere near it. I think you should avoid it. I don't think the workplace is the place to take political stances unless your business is involved in politics or
Yep.
has a reason to. Same thing for religion. If someone brings it up with me, as the leader of the organization, I'm happy to. I don't shy away from the discussion, but I'm also not going to expect anyone to share my opinions or even need to know my opinions. And I don't feel compelled to hide them either, but I don't think it's relevant in the workplace as a rule. You disagree?
I I agree and disagree, right? Because you said the key phrase at the beginning of your answer is you've got to check the pulse. You've got to check the people who you talk, because some people are okay in having that conversation and some people are not. Either way is okay. That's why a lot of people in HR or leaders, for that matter, they just take the stance. We don't know how people are going to take these conversations, so let's just not talk about it at all. Now, I was involved. I managed a team about 5, 6 years ago, and this topic came up because being in HR, you run into that topic more often than not, and not people talking about it. You run into investigations, or you have to make a decision based on something somebody said that may be radically different in how you feel about that position, right?
Mm.
So, for example, because in HR, you got people who have their own political and religious beliefs that they have to act on. With other situations where other people have the exact opposite, so we're kind of forced to talk about it from an investigation perspective. That opened the door to people starting to share their views on it, right?
Right.
And let me tell you, what I found was amazing, Pete, because I was lucky enough to lead a team that they had open minds, right? They respect other people's points of view, and the only agenda they had, and this is a soundbite that I use all the time. Somebody asked us, "What's your agenda in allowing your employees to talk about that?" And I'm like, "My agenda is to understand." So if you have an ideal, if you have a mindset that you're asking questions, you're pushing back for the purpose of understanding the other person's point of view, brother, you build a heck of a team. Because and then from then on, again, I don't suggest everybody does this. It really depends on who you have on your team, but I'm just sharing the outcome of what happened here. So I allowed the team to talk about their own political views, their own religious identity, and discuss back and forth. What I found is that skill set, they were able to sharpen those tools, and they were able to have more meaningful conversations with their business partners in the field. It worked beautifully for us, but it's not going to work for everybody, right? So what you said at the beginning is key. You said only do it if you're 100% certain that the people who you're having this discussion with is going to be okay with it, and it's not
Well,
pushing another ideal down somebody's throat.
we everyone's well aware that we live currently in a very divisive, polarized society, and even seemingly neutral topics and can often end up in an argument. Relationships are ending over political
Yeah.
views these
Yeah.
days, and family relationships, right? Long-term friendships. And um so it's just a sensitive time, and I don't know what the future holds with that, but right now I see on social media and often that there's calls for canceling companies and boycotting companies because one side or another doesn't agree with that company's political views. And
Yeah.
I just think, first of all, the company shouldn't take a political view. We talked about that
Yep.
recently, and mine never will. That's for sure. But at the same time, um, the it's just a weird time for that. That's all. That's
It
it.
is. No,
And
it
so I
yeah.
I'd err on the side of, hey, let's just avoid where possible the things that have potential to have people be upset. But again, if asked, I'm always going to give my opinion. I don't mind
Yep.
those conversations. I agree with you 100% that we should be able to do that. We should be able to engage and share. And I, for one, certainly always want to understand the perspective of someone who's differs greatly than mine, right?
Yes.
Because I
Yep.
want it. But I acknowledge, as I should, as any leader should, that hey, I'm in a unique position where I have to be a little careful, not a little careful, a lot careful, um, with how I proceed in those situations. So I try to stay as neutral as possible.
I want to tell you really because I know we're short on time. A really quick story, and I think I shared this with you before, where I once had a class that I teach. This is back on the not this past presidential cycle, the previous one, right? Where it's I'm just telling you what happened. My class, it's was completely the entire class was against Trump,
Yep.
right? And there was a rally here in Central Florida. My assignment for them is go to a rally and interview people just for the sole purpose of understanding their point of view. You don't say a word, right? Only to follow up on questions, right? And at first, it was really uncomfortable. I'm like, folks, this is for a grade, right? The whole idea is to put them in a difficult, emotionally, I don't want to say scarring, but an emotionally difficult situation where they had to keep their mouth shut for the sole purpose of understanding the other person's point of view. And for the record, I would have done it with any political side, right? If I had somebody, a bunch of people in my class that didn't like the opponent, I would do the opposite. Again, it's to understand. And let me tell you, their eyes were open. They still were not convinced about flipping over because that wasn't the point, but they're able to have more meaningful conversations, and it turned out amazing. So I'm excited for the next political cycle because I'm going to do the very same things to my students to just understand each other. Because if we do more of that, we will we would have less divisiveness in this country right now.
I thought you were going to say we would live happily ever after.
No,
We're not quite ready for that.
We're not quite there yet. When before I use that phrase, I have to use, dude, did you know that the children are the future? We got to teach them well and, let them lead the way.
Okay.
All right. All right. Here's the next one. All right. Last question. This is a little bit off, but okay. If you guys had no plans on a regular Tuesday and money was not a restriction, how would you spend that day? I love this one. I do love this one.
On a Tuesday.
Okay.
A Tuesday.
Just on a Tuesday. Yeah, I guess they're saying that because every other day has some kind of a connotation attached to it, right? Everybody hates Mondays, Wednesdays is hump day, Fridays is Friday, Thursdays is Friday Eve, Saturdays is Saturday, and Sunday you're relaxing. Tuesday doesn't have an identity.
Do we know who sent in that question? Because I'd like to address them personally. It's a poorly constructed question. I'm going to tell you why.
Why?
Because you're only giving me one day. How if I have to be back Wednesday, where money is now a consideration, then and what I do on that Tuesday is extremely limited, right?
You're taking too big of a dive, but I get it.
Do I have a magic wand where I can wave it and suddenly I'm in, I don't know, Argentina, if that's where I want to be?
So let's do that. You know what? If you had no plans for any day, right? Just how would you spend a couple of days? I'll change it to that.
Right now, I'd say probably I'd be in Greece.
Oh, so you go in the
Greece. Yeah.
You go in the travel route.
Be in the Mediterranean, on the water.
So
I think so.
I saw that and I went that route, but not Greece. I want to go to Switzerland. Okay. Man, I want to throw away my phone, my laptop. I don't want to know from anybody, and I just want to hang out in one of those farmhouses that's in a valley with a creek in the back. You go outside and you see the same cow from last week, just having a conversation with the neighbor that's 5 acres away. That's how I would spend my time. And I would just cook out.
That's not a bad option. And then cook out. You don't want someone cooking out for you?
No, you know what? When it comes to like real good food and for conversation, I enjoy the cooking portion as I do just conversing with people afterwards.
Okay.
Because in my left hand, I have a drink. Either it's a beer or scotch. In my right hand, I got tongs, right? That I got to clip them a couple of times to make sure they work. If you don't clip them, they're not going to work, right? So
wait, clip them or click them?
Well, I call clip. So you mean click?
I think
I do clip them.
What does that mean? Clip. You're doing something with your fingers here.
When you make the clicking sound, right?
Right. So you're clicking.
I mean, look, I tomato, potato. I get it. Who says potato?
You're okay. You have to do that to make sure they work.
Okay, I gotta click them to make sure. What a horrible joke, Ricky. Stop with your jokes. Just stop with your jokes. No, dude, and I'll just have some beef on the grill. I love it because if as I'm cooking, I'm having conversations. They're asking me where I learned this, and I learned some great tips from them. In my house or anywhere I go, when I cook and I'm entertaining, it is everybody's involved. It's a
But
whole deal. It's awesome.
I was picturing fondue from where you were.
Eh,
Like that would be, the right setting for it.
Have you seen me?
I know, but yeah, I didn't think you'd bring your grill with you over there. You could leave it
So,
at home
oh no, I would wake up that
and your
neighborhood with
tongs.
brisket
Well,
and me clipping them.
and flipping. I don't know, but I'm with you. And that scene, I can picture it, but I think of that as a wintertime deal where right now
Nah.
I'm thinking I want to be on the Mediterranean Sea, like like floating in the water right now. That's where I want to be. And then come December, I'll join you over in the
There
Swiss
you go.
Alps.
All right. So we are right at time, but I want to add this last one in there. Forget about on a Tuesday or whatever. Let's say retirement. What's your perfect retirement scenario?
Same
Yeah.
answer. I think
Yeah.
no, no, go see every place and do everything. That's really the answer.
Got it.
That's what I warn my wife about all the time. Like, hey, just heads up when the time comes and the kids are gone, or we can do this. We're rolling. We're going everywhere. Right? What about you?
So okay. So I love how you said that because I warned my wife as well. I'm like, hey, I got 10 years. Right? 10 years, I'm done. And here's what I'm gonna do. Laptop, all technology is gonna go away. I'm gonna move to a beach somewhere in South America. I'm gonna buy a little fry hut, right? I'm gonna own no shirts, only shorts and flip-flops. I'm gonna let my beard grow out, and I'm just gonna wake up, walk over to my hut, which I live right next to, by the way, on the beach. Open up at 11 and just sell nothing but French fries and cold beer for tourists. That's
French
all I
fries.
want to do.
Just fries.
French fries with whatever toppings you want. That's it, right? And I'm gonna call it my side hustle. French fries, right? That's what I'm gonna do, right? It's just wake up at 11, meet the tourists there, and just go ahead and close like after sunset. And
Okay.
that's
How
7 days a
how
week.
is there not how does that restaurant not already exist? I mean, does it? I've never seen a French fry only place, but it sounds amazing.
Exactly.
All right. We should probably cut that part out.
We really should cut that part out, right? I'm sure somebody has thought of that. They have to, right? Yeah, it's easy. You want it with chilies or you want it with jalapenos, you want it with cheese, but here's a beer. Right.
Okay. So then I have to ask, and then we will
Yeah.
this is why we lose people at the end.
I
But
know.
you only get one kind of French fry to eat for the rest of your life. You have steak fries, you have curly fries, you have thin McDonald's fries. How are they cooked? What kind of fry? What kind of seasoning? You only get one.
Curly fries, curly truffle fries.
Okay. Curly
That's what I
truffle
would do.
fries.
Yes,
Okay.
dude. Have you had truffle fries?
I have. But
They're
some are
life-changing.
good, some are not. They're not all created equal. Sometimes there's a little too strong flavor on those.
I don't think, and if people have seen me, you'll know why I think this way. I don't think I've ever had a bad truffle fry.
Okay.
They're all great to me.
Okay, so here, this is one for you. If you can't picture these and taste them just by the visual, Checkers French fries are
Oh
the
my
absolute
God.
best French fries on the planet, in my opinion. And I haven't had them in years.
Chickens. I'm concerned about the napkins and the cholesterol level on the napkins, right? Because if you pour them on a napkin, that you can wring that out. It's so darn good, man. I'm gonna see.
It
The
makes you
reason I
want to
have
get
to
them,
leave,
right?
yeah, because I got a lunch meeting with a client, and I might change the venue,
The Checkers.
right,
They'll
from
sit
the
on the
ale
little
house to
table.
Checkers, right?
On the little table outside.
It's just, but I'm gonna tell them, look, eat this moderately. I need you allowed to sign this contract.
There you go. Well, I can't go to a Checkers today because I have no car. So tell me about it.
You
if
know
do
what?
it.
Just spend $80 on Uber Eats. I'll send it to you.
All right, you're heading out of town. I'm heading back to work. Again,
All right.
car. I have nowhere to go. So, all right, we did it. We got through the questions, and keep them coming. I don't think there was anything too tough today, but
Oh, that was good.
A couple good lessons along the way. So Ricky, thank you as always. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, sir. You too. Hopefully you have an amazing weekend. Again, for everybody listening, hire calling at fourcornerresources.com and give us a like on your favorite platform. Thank you very much. Have a good one, folks.
Have a great one. Goodbye.
Bye.